On this edition of Gameball College Kickoff, we're going to recap what happened with the top 4 matchups in Week 2 of the college football season. As well, we're going to discuss the 2 games in which there were major upsets that happened in college football and how those will affect the rest of the season. And of course, Mike and Luke will also break down the top 4 matchups for you to keep an eye out on in Week 3. Of course, it's going down right here. Gameball College Kickoff starts right now. What's happening, everyone? Welcome to Gameball College Kickoff for the football season never ends. I'm Marcus Jenkins.
I'm Michael Riley.
And I'm Luke Hardnett.
And of course, like we discussed earlier, we're going to recap a few of the happenings that happened last week with Week 2 of the college football season, as well as we'll talk about 2 key upsets from Week 2 and break down how they'll affect the college season. And of course, we'll give you the top 4 matchups to keep your eye out on for this up-and-coming weekend in Division I college football. We're going to start, we're just going to briefly recap a couple games, and then there's 2 that we would actually like to kind of discuss a little bit about. First, of course, the Kansas State Wildcats would fall short to number 18 Mississippi State by a score of 31-10. Also, number 3, Georgia would kind of roll past South Carolina 41-17, so a huge win for the Georgia Bulldogs as well. Now, these 2 teams, these 2 matchups, however, Mike, I'm going to start with you with this one, and that is number 2 Clemson escaping Texas A&M by a score of 28-26. How would you break down this game, Mike?
Well, it was a good fought game. It came down to the wire, and I thought it'd be one side, but Texas A&M at home showed up, and when they was down, they came back, started scoring points and getting themselves back in the game. Now, there was a questionable controversy call with the catch or so-and-so like that, but that Texas A&M should have won. But overall, it was a good game, but Clemson's defense at the end was able to contain Texas A&M offense was scoring a lot of points. I mean, they did give up 26, but at the end of their 2-point conversion when needed to be played, Clemson stepped up and made that play and almost had a sack, but it was originally called hold. And both teams got a lot of work to do from that game, but overall, it was a good fought game. Clemson escaped with the win, and Texas A&M should not hang their heads low. They should hang them high because they can learn from this game going forward what mistakes that were there and what should have they done better. But overall, this was a learning experience for a young team and all that. And Texas A&M is going to be a pretty good team going forward in the weeks.
Now, Luke, passing this on to you really quickly as well. Did this score surprise you at all?
Not really. They've had very similar recruiting classes over the last 3 or 4 years. Kevin Sumlin was able to recruit to Texas A&M. He had them top 15, top 12, 2015, 2016, 2017. So and Clemson, for as good as they've been the last few years, their recruiting classes, they're rarely top 5. They're in that same top 7 to top 12 as well. So there was no secret that A&M had the athletes for this to be able to compete there. Just a shout out to Clemson for scheduling the game. They play South Carolina every year, rivalry game. South Carolina's an SEC school, so it is a non-conference game, and you'll see that a lot with like say Iowa and Iowa State, for example. They play each other every year, but they almost play no other Power 5 non-conference games. Well, to each their own. Every team schedules accordingly. So just a shout out to Clemson for playing a second SEC team this year.
All right, once again, number 2 Clemson escaping Texas A&M. Like you mentioned, I think a lot of people out there would also agree Texas A&M will definitely be another team to be on the lookout for this upcoming season. We'll definitely see.
They play at Alabama on the 22nd of September. So if everyone predicting we get Clemson and Alabama 4, there's going to be at least one game we'll be able to say, common opponents. We know how A&M did against Clemson. I know what like I said, common opponents, how to do against Alabama. To compare and contrast.
I would agree with that. The second game of the 4 matchups that we're going to recap is number 17 USC falling to Stanford by a score of 3-17. We're going to start with you. What do you think about this upset by Stanford?
Not really sure to call it an upset. They were the higher ranked team. I believe they're at home as well. But Stanford, when you're a good defensive football team, it basically means you can play anybody, anywhere, in any conditions. They can play a high-powered offense at home on a sunny day on the farm. They could go to Oregon in a rainstorm and play there too. Because when defense travels, it just does. Go look back at the Peyton Manning Colts teams, if you will. I mean, they got outdoors in December and January, whatever else. They just couldn't produce. But you got your defensive juggernauts, for lack of a better term. Both times the Raiders won the Super Bowl. I mean their offense left a little bit. I know Flacco played out of his mind that one. The most recent one. But for the most part, the defense carried both of them there. Not a lot of home games for them in that postseason either. So any time you can play defense and like I said, defense travels. You can't really put a price on that.
Mike, I'm gonna try to on you now. Were you also surprised that it wasn't necessarily a high scoring affair as well?
No, it's a rivalry game. I expect to be physical, but Stanford came back and dominated this game again. They did dominate San Diego State, but this time they dominated USC and got their win, especially a young team. Now, Bryce Love came off 10 carries. It was more than 10 carries, 10 to 12 yards, something like that, against San Diego State. That really shut them down to over 100 yards rushing. So they really had to get that running game going. And the quarterback didn't have to rely. Stanford did not have to rely on their quarterback as much as they did the previous game against San Diego State. So with the running game of Bryce Love and be consistent in the passing game, and not turn the ball over, not have mistakes, those are recipes to be successful offensively and get you win. Defense, they just keep playing Stanford defense, physical, dominate up the front, force USC to uncomfortable situation, get turnovers, get 3 and outs, and that's how you beat a team like that and take advantage of the young team. USC's talent, but right now they're too young, and a lot of their players is in the NFL draft from last year, so going forward, USC would be there, but they wasn't there against Stanford, and Stanford was the better team that won the game.
And despite being in separate divisions, these two do play each other every year, similar to how Alabama and Tennessee and the SEC play every year, Florida and LSU, despite, like I said, being in different divisions or whatever else. But they played in the Pac-12 championship game last year as well, so it's the third time in about 50 weeks they played each other. Speaking of the Pac-12 championship game, I still think USC has the South on lock, although Arizona State, they might be have a say in that. Stanford, not so much. They got number 10 Washington. The new poll, Washington's number 10. I believe Stanford's number 9. Oregon's number 20. So you got 3 top 20 teams in the North.
All right. So how is the team? You mentioned how young they are. Lost a lot of key pieces to the NFL draft. But just a quick question for both of you: how does a team like USC bounce back from a loss like this?
They just got watch tape, stress over the mistakes that they made, and what they can do going forward, and learn from it. So once they do that, then they'll be in good shape. But they just got to learn from their mistakes that they had in the last game.
Play the next game. Let's say move on.
All right, and speaking of moving on, that's going to conclude our brief recap of Week 2. When we come back here on Gameball Kickoff, we are going to talk about 2 key matchups in which upsets were involved, and how does that play out for the remainder of the season. Stick with us right here.
One streak ended, one streak continued.
Absolutely. Gameball Kickoff. We'll be back in a minute. Thank you for staying with us right here on Gameball College Kickoff. Now we're going to jump to the second segment, and there were two key upsets that took place in Week 2 of college football. We're going to start first with number 25, Florida, falling to the Kentucky Wildcats by a score of 27-16. Luke, actually want to pass this one.
In a football game. In a football game, yeah. Kentucky beats Florida in football. That's
not basketball.
Yeah.
Football.
Yeah. I want to start this off with you. What do you think about this upset?
Just goes to show that the previous Florida coach here, McElwain, wasn't recruiting too terribly well. I figured I thought Dan Mullen would come in there and get Florida right back on track right away, but apparently they don't have as full of comfort as I thought they did. Kentucky, they had Florida beat last year. They let a 27-14 fourth quarter lead slip away. Got in the field goal range. Lyman had the holding call. Made the field goal 10 yards longer. Missed the field goal at the end. Time expired. I think deep down in their heart of hearts, Kentucky fans wish they could have ended the streak at home. But after 31 years, to quote former Kansas State Wildcat Michael Beasley, we'll beat them at home, we'll beat them away, we'll beat them in Africa. I don't think Kentucky cares where they won the game. At 31 years of futility as they come to an end.
I was shocked by this loss a little bit, but I expect Kentucky to play like this. I mean, they came out, start swinging, show why that they're wanting to compete, and they got our attention out by going to the Swamp, which is a tough place to play, and get the win there. So congratulations to Kentucky and Florida. You got a lot of work to do, and that's not the way you want to start off the week 2 of the season. So offensively, defensively, Florida, they got to go back to the drawing board and correct their mistakes and learn and fix from it. Kentucky, just keep building off just keep building off this, and you got to keep your players staying focused and check, because sometimes players can get too careless and not really focused, especially a big win in the Swamp, which was quiet. So, yeah, if you can maintain that focus and going forward and keep doing what you're doing, Kentucky could be a surprise team.
That last Florida possession, I kept on thinking of the Tennessee game last year. I just after 31 years, you just assume Florida's going to pull it out. So.
Now, the second matchup we're going to talk about before we ask this question is Michigan State also falling to number 15 ranked Michigan State. They would fall to Arizona State by a score of 13-16. Michael, I'm going to start this off with you first. What do you think about this one?
I'm not surprised that Arizona State beat Michigan, and because you have a coach like Herm Edwards who trying to bring that mindset and change the culture at Arizona State. The first game they dominated. The second game they played well, and they held Michigan State offense in check for most of the game until they gave up some points and all that stuff. But at the end, Arizona State was able to hold their own and force a missed field goal to win that game. So it was, I think it was overall good game plan by Coach Herm Edwards. He deserves a lot of credit. And slowly they are getting under the radar to where they can go out there and make some noise. If they can keep this train rolling, all that, just continue to play good defense, play efficient offense, and be good special teams. Those are the three recipes that can win you games and show exactly why Arizona State beat Michigan State.
We can pass this one off to you.
Oh, yeah, this is the streak that continued. Arizona State, 13-0 all-time versus Big Ten teams. A Big Ten team has never gone into Tempe and won. So I find it to be rather fascinating. I'm not really too terribly surprised by this. I mean, the game started at 10:45 p.m. Michigan time. So it was a late start. Just like those early kicks affect the West Coast teams when they go east or whatever else. I think the bigger picture here is, we touched on this during the USC game. I mean, UCLA, Chip Kelly's got a long way to go there. They've fallen flat on their face so far. Arizona, I'm not even sure they could beat Kansas right now. Shout out to the Jayhawks, by the way. Big win at Central Michigan over the weekend. So, in 46 games consecutive road losing streak for the Jayhawks. So, shout out to them. I'm only saying that half tongue in cheek, though. I think Kansas could probably beat Arizona and Oregon State out of the Pac-12.
I don't think so.
50-50. Anyway, the jury's out on Utah. They play Washington this Saturday. That's actually a big time game right there. I believe the game's in Salt Lake City too, so real statement game for the the Utes there. But I mean, Arizona State, big picture here, they could win the Pac-12. They look like the team that can challenge USC in the South this year.
Now, question I want to ask you both, recapping both of these two games, which hurt affected which team the most?
I'll say Michigan, because every year you're at least competing with the big dogs, the Michigans, Ohio States, and the Penn States, and always either coming close or winning them, then going to the Big Ten. So Michigan State hurt their chances of playing for going to the college playoff. But they went out their games, they're in. But this loss going against Arizona State, unranked opponent, that's going to have eyebrows raised for the committee.
I mean, Michigan State could have won the game. They still have to play Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State, so on and so forth. So I don't think that really impacts them too much terribly at all. I think what it does is that it puts Arizona State on the map. It gives them that sense of confidence, even if it's a sense of false confidence. At least for a week, they believe that they're a team that, like I said, a few minutes ago, can win at least the Pac-12 South.
Now, the second question I want to ask both of you is, how do both of these teams, how do they bounce back? Michael, start with you. How do they bounce back from these losses?
Well, they got to go back to the drawing board, and if they want to make some noise, it's must-win mentality. Each game, you can't lose another game. You have to win out.
Michigan State can't let Arizona State beat them twice. They had to play Indiana this week. Indiana's always been, they've always been within a touchdown of Michigan State over the last 5 to 7 years. So, eventually they're going to get that win over them. Can't let Arizona State beat you twice.
All right, and that's going to wrap it up for those two big losses in week 2. It's going to be anxious to see which teams, if there's any more upsets going into week 3. We'll find out this coming weekend. And that's going to wrap up that segment. When we come back right here on Gameball College Kickoff, we're going to talk about the top 4 matchups going into week 3 of the college football season for you guys to keep your eye on. And of course, Mike and Luke will bring you their predictions to those games. Stick with us right here, Gameball College Kickoff. We'll return. Gameball College Kickoff. Of course, when the football season never ends, we're going to jump into the third and final segment of this episode, and that is the top 4 matchups going into week 3 for you guys to keep your eye out on. We're going to start with number 5 Oklahoma taking on Iowa State. Luke, I'm going to start with you. What do you think about this matchup?
Oklahoma's getting 17 on the road here. Iowa State, I wasn't too terribly impressed with them against Iowa this past weekend. At least not on the offensive side of the ball, but at the same time, Iowa's never been an offensive juggernaut either. Those 17-5 games that they won over the Cyclones last week, kind of their MO, at least during the Kirk Ferentz era. Iowa State, they beat Oklahoma last year in Norman for the first time since 1990. That game was also played in Norman as well. I honest to God cannot tell you the last time Iowa State beat Oklahoma in Ames. So, shout out to whoever can inform me on that.
Well, it's going to be a big game for both teams, especially Oklahoma, since they got that revenge mind on their head that we let this game get away. But in Ames, Iowa, I don't care if they have a winning record or losing record. It is a tough place to play and a tough place to win. Any team you ask can go in there and say, man, that stadium and that crowd is tough, and I bet you it's already sold out right now because it's a big game, and Iowa State has a chip on their shoulder like, we lost last week. What can we do this week to get an upset win at home? What can we do to go get our second straight win against Oklahoma? What can they do? Defensively, they got to challenge. They got to slow down the Oklahoma's offense especially slow down the quarterback Murray, who's been balling so far. But this will be a true test for the Murray, especially on the road. And offensively, you got to score points. 3 is not going to cut it. You have to score touchdowns, and you can't have mistakes or anything like that. So those are the key things for Iowa State to win this game.
All right, a big game indeed for Iowa State. You got number 5 Oklahoma rolling into town. A big bounce back game on the road. We'll see what happens at Ames, Iowa this weekend. The second matchup we're going to talk about is the number 12 LSU Tigers taking on the number 7 Auburn Tigers. We're going to start with you first. Again, what do you think about this match?
The annual Tiger Bowl. Played every year. Surprised to see Auburn. I know Auburn's the home team or whatever else, but they're getting, I think, 12 and a half, I think I saw, over LSU there. When LSU, I don't believe LSU's played since the season opener against Miami. And you know what? I don't think. Miami looked really bad that game. I think it was more because of LSU. Though I think LSU looked more good than Miami did bad, if that makes any sense.
Right.
Auburn, they're battle tested. I think Miami may have been a little overrated. I think Washington, they was number 6 at the time. They're number 10 right now. I think Washington's a legit number 8 to 12 team. So for them to get a win over them that week 1 game there was huge for Auburn. Home field's going to go a long way in this one. Last year, the game was played at LSU. Auburn was up 20 to nothing at one point in the game, and this is after LSU lost to Troy. So I think Auburn just kind of let their guard down because they had a 20-point lead against the team that lost to Troy a week or 2 earlier. So interesting to see what Auburn's mentality is. Should they be able to get a similar lead this game?
Well, I should not be wrong. That warrant was whack. Just to state the facts. I'm gonna stick to my day job. Let's get on to it.
We get where you're going with it, though.
Yeah, it's gonna be a clash of the Titans. It's gonna be a heavyweight fight. It's just a matter of which offense is gonna make the last play and not have any turnovers at the end, and which defense is gonna step up. So, whichever team has the ball last without any mistakes offensively is gonna win this game.
Tiger Bowl. Definitely, I think this is. Would you agree that this is potentially one of the better matchups of the weekend?
Yeah, it is every year. Every year. I remember watching this game. This is one of the matches that actually got me into college football when I was a kid because, when you're between 7 to 12 years old or whatever else, that's kind of when you learn the rules and the ins and outs and see things for the first time the most. And I don't remember exactly what year it was or even who won, but I know one of the teams. This is back when you could still tie in college football too, but it was a 17-9. The trailing team, the trailing Tigers scored to make it 17-15. They went for 2 to tie the game. It got picked off and ran back the other way. The final score was 19-15, and I'd never seen nothing. At the time, the NFL, you couldn't do that either. Mm-hmm. There was no 2-point returns in the NFL. So that is the first time I ever saw that before, and I've just kind of been mesmerized by this matchup ever since. A little before my time of watching football, I'm kind of showing my age here, but I guess in '87 there was a game at Death Valley, in Baton Rouge there, and LSU scored a late touchdown to win the game, and it set an earthquake. So, just all sorts of fun little knick-knack facts in this series.
Mm-hmm.
I like this matchup. I can't wait for the predictions. I definitely want to see how you guys break down this one. Of course,
12 points. That's just insane.
That's quite a different. The third matchup we're going to talk about is the Ohio State Buckeyes going in ranked number 4, taking on number 15 TCU. Mike, I want to start with you on this one. What do you think about the Buckeyes and the Horned Frogs?
So far, they've just been dominating on both sides of the ball. Offensively, they're moving and changing. I do like that quarterback that they have. I feel like they do a lot better with an actual true pocket passer than some of the other quarterbacks that they have. I'm not trying to throw any shades at the quarterbacks that they have in the past, but I just feel more comfortable with the quarterback that they have now. They actually have a pure pocket passer, and they also have a quarterback that is a dual-threat quarterback that can scramble and all that. So far, they've been kind of running a 2 system, but I really like the pure pocket passer quarterback because it feels like the game slows down for him and the offense moves faster when he's in there. And defensively, Nick Bosa, Joey Bosa's little brother, woo! Whoever's blocking him, I feel sorry for him because he is balling. He's not better than his brother. Let's not get that twisted. But he's as close as his brother as it gets. I mean, just
Some draft experts will disagree with that, actually.
Hmm?
Some draft experts will say you're wrong. I'm not saying you are, but I'm just, as the season progresses, he's picking up steam with some. There are some draft pundits saying that Nick Bosa's the better one.
I'll go
Just a
with
little food for thought.
I know. I'm going with the older brother since it was passed down the techniques and all that. I'm the one who showed you that be successful, so a little get of that. But Nick Bosa is balling, and the defense, and that whole front seven is balling, the secondary is balling. And the thing with TCU struggles against very good defenses offensively, because a game against SMU, they struggled offensively for a little bit, and they started picking it up. Defense was shook when they gave up the first points of the game. You can't do that against a very good Ohio State team. So TCU got their work cut out for them, but if they're going to win, they got to win the turnover battle on defense, force 3 and outs. Offensively, you have to score points and not have penalties and not have mistakes.
I'm kind of willing to overlook the SMU game there. Those two, TCU and SMU, have been playing since the 1890s. They play for that iron skillet every year. What I'm trying to make is they got tape on each other. Things like that's going to happen. So, but it's first time that I ever recall these two teams playing each other. It's not a true home game for TCU. It's in Jerry World in Arlington, actually, at the old Cowboy Stadium, which I think kind of benefits Ohio State. I mean, yeah, it's going to be, 108, 110,000, however many holds there, but, 35, 40,000 of that. Almost half is going to be Ohio State. But, the fans don't really make an impact on the game either. Just I do think that TCU, they actually play, their campus stadium in Fort Worth is Almon G. Carter Stadium. That's natural grass. Cowboy Stadium is the fake stuff. So that just happens to be what Ohio State plays on. So that's actually an advantage of Ohio State as well. Just some of the key things to look at there.
So big matchup, kind of on neutral ground. Kind of since it's in Texas.
Ohio State's getting 13 too. That's kind of something. These top 15 matchups, the spreads are just. I don't know about that. I don't know about the spreads.
That's quite a margin. That's a huge margin. The fourth and final matchup, Boise State coming in number 17, taking on number 24, Oklahoma State. Mike, I'm gonna kick this one to you as well. What do you think about this matchup?
It's gonna be a good matchup, but I think this matchup is more important for Boise State because they're going to a hostile environment, and they got a 2-0 record going. They're playing excellent defense. They only allowed the last 2 games 7 points. I mean, that is just phenomenal defense. Offensively, they are moving the chain. In the past, there was like run first, then pass, but this time they're pass first and run, just keep it balanced. And when you want to have that, when you go to a hostile environment. Now, for Oklahoma State, you're going up against a good defense, and especially a new quarterback who's replacing Mason Rudolph, who entered the draft. So, and it's going to be a good game, so you got to keep the quarterback calm. You can't let the game get best to him. Keep his nerves right, and also you got to keep it simple. Nothing too fancy. Take your shots down to the field, but don't get too cute. If you do that, Boise takes advantage of that. Defensively, you got to force Boise State to be one-dimensional offense and beat them. If you can do that, Oklahoma State can win this game.
Nope. Got a second what Mike is saying.
I'm trying to think of since Chris Peterson took over at Washington, when's the last big-time Power 5 game that Boise State's won? They're still alone in the Mountain West Conference going, but
they did win against Oregon in that bowl game.
The Mountain West Conference is it's kind of the football like the West Coast Conference is to basketball with Gonzaga. That's kind of who Boise State is. So the Oregon game, it kind of Willie Taggart had already left to take the Florida State position. That was kind of plus, I think Boise State was just a better team than Oregon was. Actually, I did forget about that. No props on not bringing that one up there. But they last big time win I remember Boise State having big time when was they beat Arizona in the Fiesta Bowl when Ajayi was still there.
Yeah.
So and I believe that was Chris Peterson's last year there, if I'm not mistaken. So for Boise, they're still going to get their 9-10 wins a year there. But this is the first chance and really their only chance to make a real statement win against the Power 5 team this year. Well, I was impressed with their Week 1 win at Troy, though. They went to Troy Week 1 and just 42-7, 42-14, 49-14, whatever it was. I mean, they can play. They got athletes.
Well, excuse me about the scoring margin. It was more than 7 points. So Boise State held their opponents combined of 14 or 20-something points the first two games. I just want to correct that.
All right, number 17, Boise State. Number 24, Oklahoma State. And that's going to bring us to, of course, anybody's favorite part of the episode. It is time to do our world famous predictions. Of course, starting with number 5, Oklahoma and Iowa State. Luke, what's your prediction on this one?
I mean, everything about Iowa State this week is what worried me about K-State last week, minus the flood. I mean, just a little comparison. I was at the K-State game. It was one of the most lethargic home crowds I've ever seen in my entire life, and I got a few theories on why that was. They beat South Dakota, but they kind of lost in a weird kind of way. Everyone for both sides knew there was a possibility they can get whipped pretty good, which is ultimately what happened. Then you had the flood. Then you had the 11 o'clock kickoff. It was drizzling that morning. It was an overcast. I don't know what the weather's supposed to be like in Ames this week, but there's a few similarities, though. Iowa State just kind of got their lunch handed to them by Iowa the week before. They lost the rivalry game. Everyone kind of knows there's a possibility that Oklahoma can go in there and just raise hell against them. It's an 11 o'clock kickoff. Oklahoma's got an axe to grind off of last year's loss to them. No Rodney Anderson's going to equal no problem for Oklahoma. I'll give Iowa State. I was wanting to say 38-20, but I don't think Iowa State can put 20 on Oklahoma, though. So I'm going to say 44-13 Oklahoma. I think they roll pretty easily.
I'm agreeing with everything you said and all that, but I have a gut feeling, and I'm going to say I don't think so on that pick, and I'm rolling with the Cyclones at home because last year I think it would feel off again this year, and the way that they lost on the road against Iowa, it just had a bad taste in their mouth, and they got a chip on their shoulder, so they'll be at home. And Ames is one of them tough places to play, like I was alluding to earlier. You might have a bad record or a winning record, but Iowa State is going to give you all they got. So I'm going to say upset win at home against Oklahoma again. I'm going to say the score of 17-14 Iowa State gets it done at home.
Honestly, I actually agree with it being a close game because I think it is going to be tough for Oklahoma. However, I have similar results except for I think Oklahoma will go in and I think they will find a way to get it done. I actually do like a close score as well. I do like Oklahoma. I'm going to say they're going to win. I'm going to say they're going to win 21-17 in Ames, Iowa. Second matchup, Mike, I'm going to start with you. Who do you like between LSU and Auburn?
War Eagle, I'm going Auburn because they're at home. And they have a pretty good defense, and they got a lot of players that's projected going the first round of the draft, especially that defensive line. And LSU defense will keep it the game, but offensively, I don't like LSU against Auburn's defense. So I'm going to say it's going to be a very close scoring game. I'm going to say the score of 13-10 Auburn, late field goal.
I don't like Auburn against LSU's defense either, but I do like home field. I do think Auburn wins this. I had Auburn losing as far as the SEC goes this year. They're at Georgia. They're at Alabama. I still think those are the only two SEC games they lose. So very, very similar score and margin. I got 20-17, blue and orange Tigers.
I'm gonna say Auburn as well. I think it's gonna be a good game. I think it's going to be a test defensively more than it is than anything. I think both of them will have a lot to prove on that side of football. However, I think they'll find a way to pull it out. I say 21-14. I like Auburn in this matchup.
Going to be more future pros on the field this Saturday than any place in college football.
Agreed. Third matchup, Luke, I'm going to swing this one to you. You like between number 4 Ohio State and number 15 TCU?
I like TCU. I like Gary Patterson, born in Lawrence, Kansas. Class of 83, K-State. Done a great job at TCU, whether they was in Conference USA or the WAC or the Mountain West or the Big 12. But I picked Ohio State during our off-season previews to go undefeated, at least through the regular season, which obviously means I think they win at TCU. I would like TCU's chances better if it was in Fort Worth, but it is in Arlington. There is a difference in there. For reasons I pointed out earlier, the surface, the crowd, etc. I don't know if Ohio State can cover that. TCU might be the best defensive team that Ohio State plays this year, which is saying something. You consider they're in the same, conference as Wisconsin and Michigan as well. TCU's going to bring it defensively. I don't think TCU can score though, so I'm going to go with Ohio State in 27-21 by guys.
I'm going with Ohio State as well. I just don't think TCU offensively can handle the defensive talent of Ohio State, especially against Nick Bosa. Whoever's got to block Nick Bosa, it's going to be a very long night. They're going to have to put a double team on him. I do like TCU defensively, but I don't trust them offensively. So I'm going to say the score of 24-17, Ohio State gets it done.
I agree with both of y'all. I like Ohio State in this matchup as well. I just think they just have a lot offensively. I'm going to say that they're going to pull this one out. I'm going to say 28-14 over TCU. Number 17, Boise State. Number 24, Oklahoma State. Mike, who do you got?
Upset alert. I'm going with Boise State on the road. Get a win at Oklahoma State. The first two wins, they have scored over 120-some points, and they shut down their opponents between the 20s or under 20s. And I like Boise State's defense. They're just flying the ball everywhere. The secondary is playing well. The linebackers is playing well, especially in coverage. And that defensive line of Boise State is just something else. They're just playing with a load of confidence right now. With the new quarterback environment, the big game, I just don't trust Oklahoma State, especially that quarterback. So I'm going to say Boise State is down the road, the score of 31-20.
I got Oklahoma State winning 38-35. Both teams are going to score. I just think Oklahoma State has better athletes on both sides of the ball there for the most part. I trust Gundy. I trust Stillwater.
I agree. I think it's going to be a great matchup. I just don't know if Boise State can go into Oklahoma. I don't see it. I can't see them going into Stillwater and getting it done. I think it's going to be a close game. I'm going to say this one is 28-25. I do like Oklahoma State. That's going to do it for this edition of Gameball Cards Kickoff.
All right, you can follow us on social media. The links down below the description. So follow all of us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Go to our clothing line website, tokendesigns.com/gameball. TOKAN. That's token, not token. Designs.com/gameball. Follow us on YouTube. Like, subscribe, hit a thumbs up, hit a thumbs down at GCK.GNFLETV. Until then.
You can find me on Facebook under Marcus Jovel ENT Jenkins. Don't forget you can also hit your boy on Twitter and also hit me on Instagram as well at Jovel ENT.
Facebook Luke Hartnett, Twitter Luke Hartnett 2.
Alright, that's going to do it for this edition of Gameball Cards Kickoff. Don't forget to check us out as we're going to shift over to everything that's going on in the National Football League. So also be on the lookout for Gameball NFL End Zone as well. That's going to do it right here on Marcus Young Jenkins. Sorry about that.
I'm Michael Riley.
I'm Luke Hartnett.
And we'll see you next time. Salute.